Hello everyone, I am Donna. Today I am back again with a beautiful, yet heartbreaking story for you. The Tallis family estate stood in the English countryside like something from a dream. Huge gardens, ancient trees, quiet fountains, and endless sunlight stretching across carefully cut grass. To outsiders, it looked perfect. But perfection is often fragile. Inside the house lived 13-year-old Bryony Tallis. Bryony was intelligent, creative, sensitive. She loved stories, loved writing plays, loved creating worlds where everything made sense. But Bryony also possessed something dangerous, a desperate need to understand people before she truly could. That summer, she had written a dramatic play for her visiting cousins, a childish romance filled with heroes and villains. In Bryony's world, morality was simple. Good people were good, bad people were bad. But real life was far more complicated. And Bryony was about to learn that too late. Also staying at the estate was Robbie Turner. Robbie had grown up around the Tallis family. His mother worked as their housekeeper. But Robbie was no servant. He was brilliant. Educated at Cambridge. Quiet. Thoughtful. A young man with ambitions far beyond the estate. And secretly, deeply in love with Bryony's older sister, Cecilia. Cecilia Tallis was elegant and intelligent, but restless. She felt trapped by upper-class expectations, trapped inside a life that already seemed planned for her. And though she and Robbie had known each other for years, something between them had changed. Something electric. Something impossible to ignore. Yet neither fully understood it. Not yet. One blazing afternoon, everything began with a vase. Cecilia and Robbie argued beside the family fountain. The conversation was awkward, tense. Underneath their words was years of hidden attraction. Then suddenly, the vase broke. A piece fell into the fountain. Cecilia stepped into the water to retrieve it. Her dress clung to her skin. She stared directly at Robbie, and without warning, removed her clothes. Then climbed from the fountain half-dressed and walked away. From an upstairs window, Bryony watched the entire scene. But she misunderstood it completely. To Bryony, Robbie looked threatening. Dangerous. The image locked into her imagination instantly. And from that moment on, she began constructing a story about Robbie Turner. A story that would destroy him. Later that day, Robbie sat alone trying to write a letter to Cecilia. He wanted to explain himself. Explain the strange tension between them. Explain the feelings he had buried for years. But frustration and desire overwhelmed him. He wrote multiple drafts. One polite, one emotional, and one reckless. A private letter filled with raw sexual honesty. A letter never meant for anyone else to read. Robbie accidentally sent the wrong version. And fate placed it directly into Bryony's hands. The 13-year-old girl read words she barely understood. But to her imagination, the letter confirmed everything. Now she was certain. Robbie was dangerous. Perverted. A threat. And the tragedy accelerated. That evening, during a family gathering, Bryony searched for her cousins in the dark library. Instead, she witnessed Cecilia and Robbie together. They were kissing. Passionately. Years of suppressed longing finally exploding. But Bryony didn't see love. She saw violence. Control. Fear. Again, she misunderstood. Again, she transformed reality into a story that fit her childish worldview. And then came the final disaster. Later that night, one of the younger cousins, Lola, was attacked in the darkness near the estate grounds. The assault happened quickly. Confusion. Screams. Shadows. No one saw clearly, but Bryony believed she knew who did it. Or perhaps, wanted to believe. She accused Robbie Turner. With absolute certainty. The adults trusted her. After all, she was from a respected family. And Robbie? He was the housekeeper's son. No matter how educated he became, class divisions still ruled England. Robbie was arrested. Cecilia begged her family to listen. She knew Robbie was innocent. But nobody believed her. The lie had already become truth. And Bryony, still just 13 years old, watched silently as police took Robbie away forever. That night destroyed every life involved. Robbie Turner was sentenced to prison. Years vanished. Dreams vanished. His future vanished. All because of a false accusation. But the world itself was also changing. Europe moved closer and closer toward war. And eventually, Robbie was given a choice. Remain in prison. Or join the British Army. He chose war. Not because he believed in glory, but because it offered the smallest possibility of freedom. And one more reason kept him alive. Cecilia. Despite her family abandoning Robbie, Cecilia never stopped loving him. She broke ties with the Tallis family completely, moved away, worked as a nurse in London, and secretly exchanged letters with Robbie during the war. Their love survived through words. Tiny fragile letters crossing a continent consumed by violence. Meanwhile, Bryony grew older. And slowly, realization began creeping into her mind. What if she had been wrong? The certainty she once felt began to crack. Then collapse. As adulthood approached, Bryony finally understood something horrifying. She had not seen truth. She had seen what she wanted to see. And because of her accusation, an innocent man lost everything. Guilt began consuming her. So Bryony abandoned dreams of becoming a carefree writer. Instead, she trained as a nurse during World War II. Perhaps suffering could cleanse her. Perhaps hard work could punish her. Perhaps somewhere deep inside, she hoped atonement was possible. But some wounds are too deep. And some apologies arrive too late. The world of atonement changes dramatically during the war. The peaceful English countryside disappears. Now the story becomes mud, blood, exhaustion, and survival. Robbie Turner finds himself trapped during the retreat to Dunkirk in 1940. Thousands of British soldiers move desperately toward the coast, hoping for rescue. The once-educated young man now walks through a nightmare. Bombed villages, burning bodies, starving soldiers, chaos everywhere. Robbie travels with two fellow soldiers, trying to stay alive long enough to reach the beach. But the deeper they move through France, the more surreal the war becomes. Horses lie dead in fields. Children wander homeless. Entire towns collapse into silence. Human civilization itself seems broken. And throughout it all, Robbie clings to one thought. Cecilia. He imagines seeing her again. Imagines touching her hand. Imagines finally living the life stolen from them. That dream keeps him moving forward. Back in London, Cecilia works endless hospital shifts. Wounded soldiers arrive constantly. The city lives under the shadow of bombings. Yet Cecilia remains emotionally distant from everyone except Robbie. Her family still refuses to admit the truth. Still protects the lie. And Bryony, now 18, works in another hospital as a trainee nurse. Her days are brutal. Scrubbing floors. Cleaning wounds. Watching young men die. The romantic fantasies of childhood vanish completely. Reality strips away every illusion. For the first time in her life, Bryony truly understands suffering. One night, after treating wounded soldiers for hours, Bryony realizes something devastating. No punishment she gives herself can undo what she did. No amount of guilt can return Robbie's lost years. No apology can erase trauma. Yet she still searches for redemption. Because humans need to believe redemption exists. Otherwise guilt would destroy us completely. Eventually, Bryony confronts a memory she has avoided for years. The night Lola was attacked. The darkness. The confusion. The uncertainty. And slowly, another truth emerges. The attacker may not have been Robbie at all. In fact, Bryony begins realizing she likely accused the wrong man entirely. The real danger had been much closer to the family. Paul Marshall. A wealthy chocolate manufacturer. Charming. Respected. And trusted by everyone. Unlike Robbie, Marshall belonged to the upper class. Society protected men like him. Even when it shouldn't. Years later, Lola herself marries Paul Marshall. A disturbing decision. One that suggests silence, denial, and social pressure mattered more than truth. Bryony becomes horrified. She finally understands the full scale of the injustice. An innocent man suffered. The guilty man escaped. And her childish imagination helped make it possible. So Bryony decides to act. She visits Cecilia in London. For the first time in years. The meeting is tense. Painful. Cecilia has never forgiven her sister. And Robbie is there too. Thin from war. Exhausted. Yet still alive. Bryony apologizes. She admits she lied. Admits she was mistaken. And promises to correct the record. Robbie and Cecilia demand one thing. That Bryony tell the truth publicly. No matter what it costs. And Bryony agrees. For the first time, she is determined to do something selfless. But life rarely grants easy redemption. Decades pass. Bryony becomes a successful novelist. An old woman carrying memories that never leave her. And now, near the end of her life, she decides to tell the full story. The story we have just witnessed. But then comes the devastating twist. A revelation that changes everything. Robbie Turner never reunited with Cecilia. The meeting Bryony described never happened. It was fiction. Robbie died during the war. Cecilia died during the London bombings. The lovers never got their happy ending. Never escaped tragedy. Never healed. Bryony invented their reunion inside her novel because reality was too cruel. Too unbearable. As a writer, she possessed one final power. If she could not change reality, she could at least give them peace on the page. Even if only fictional. And suddenly the true meaning of atonement becomes painfully clear. Some sins cannot truly be forgiven. Some damage cannot be repaired. No matter how deeply we regret it. Bryony spent her entire life searching for redemption. But even she admits something heartbreaking. How can a novelist achieve atonement when she controls every ending? Who has the authority to forgive? The victims are dead. The past is permanent. And guilt remains. Forever. Atonement is not simply a love story. It is a story about perspective. About how dangerous assumptions can become. Bryony believed she understood adult emotions. But she interpreted fragments instead of truth. And those misunderstandings destroyed lives. The novel also explores class divisions in England. Robbie was intelligent and kind. Yet society viewed him differently because of his background. That prejudice made it easy to believe he was guilty. The story also asks terrifying questions about memory. Can we ever truly know what happened? Or do humans constantly reshape reality into stories that comfort us? And finally, the novel explores guilt. Real guilt. The kind that never disappears. Bryony spends decades trying to earn forgiveness. But some actions leave scars beyond repair. That truth gives atonement its emotional power. Because deep down, everyone fears making one irreversible mistake. One moment of weakness that changes everything forever. As the final pages close, we are left with sadness. But also understanding. Atonement reminds us how fragile truth can be. How easily innocence can be destroyed. And how impossible it sometimes is to undo the consequences of our actions. Robbie and Cecilia lost their future because of one false story. And Bryony spent the rest of her life trying to rewrite what could never truly be rewritten. In the end, perhaps atonement is not about erasing guilt. Perhaps it is simply about facing the truth, no matter how painful it is. And maybe that is the tragedy of being human. We understand some things only after it is far too late. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this storytelling journey into Atonement by Ian McEwan, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more immersive novel storytelling. Until next time. Good night.